Before we start, just a quick reminder. The views and content shared on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and are not a substitute for professional advice. Please check the full disclaimer in the show notes for more information.
Welcome to Self-Centered, the podcast that's all about you. We're your hosts.
I'm Allie, a therapist and life coach.
And I'm Katie, a fitness coach and personal trainer. We know what it's like to feel burnt out, taken for granted, and like your life revolves around everyone but yourself.
By learning to trust yourself, prioritize your needs, and set healthy boundaries, we help you break free from guilt, overfunctioning, and toxic patterns that keep you stuck in relationships and a life that doesn't truly serve you.
Join us each week as we dive into the tools, stories, and mindset shifts you need to create a life that centers you.
Because being self-centered isn't selfish, it's essential. So Katie and I always have our own little mini podcast, basically, which is our voice notes. We're always sending voice notes to each other, especially when there are like breakthroughs that we have or realizations, or it's like we have a half-baked thought that we're like, okay, something's starting to come to me. Like, what do you think? I love that about our friendship. And so one of the things that Katie brought up this week was around like realizations around people pleasing and perfectionism. And I have thoughts about it as well, but I figured I'll let Katie start and then we can just talk about how people pleasing and perfectionism does often form as like an adaptive survival strategy. And then that can show up in relationships for sure.
Yes. So, gosh, and I'm like mentally in the thick of it. So give me grace here, guys, because I've been processing through the last week. But essentially, I had this experience this week where I was faced with a moment where I wanted to go back to a place that I had history with another person. But I've been at that place a lot prior to my history with this person. And unfortunately, I no longer am in contact with that person, but I know that that person has potentially negative feelings towards me. And in the midst of that, I was walking by this place because I live pretty close to it. And I saw that person there. And I saw that person there on the same night that I was planning to go to that place. And I had this like immediate thought that I was like, fuck, I can't go there anymore. And like, I immediately started to shut myself down. And I started to make myself small and not want to act on the things that were going to bring me joy and that I knew I wanted because I knew that it would make this other person upset or not happy with me. Potentially. That's my assumption, right? And it kind of sent me down the spiral of figuring out like what the root of that thing is, because logically I know that I don't need to change my actions for another person's comfort. But emotionally it didn't feel right. And that told me that, okay, well, if I'm having an emotional reaction to this and my instinct is to respond in a way that is not supportive of what I want, that there must be something like a core belief that's deeper than that. And so I went down the rabbit hole. And the core belief that I effectively got to was, and this is, I know it's not true, but it is a feeling, is that I'm not worthy of love. And more specifically, I'm not worthy of love unless I am doing things for other people that make them happy with me and that make their life easier or that bring them joy, but maybe don't bring me joy. And, in the midst of this like processing thing, I was trying to think back to, well, where did this root come from? Because, I've experienced it in romantic relationships. I've experienced it in friendships. I'm like thinking back to even like as a kid, all of the verbal praise that I got from adult figures in my life and people that, you respect. All of it was centered around what I did. And like, oh, well, she's such a great student and like, she's so well behaved and like, she, always listens and follows directions or like that sort of thing.
She's so obedient.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember back to my upbringing and like early childhood and how my parental figures would discipline. And I grew up in a household where I was not disciplined in a traditional sense, at least what I always understood as a traditional sense. I was never like grounded. My parents never beat me. None of that typical
Good.
South stuff. I know it's great. But there were a lot of mind games and to a level, emotional manipulation. I don't think at the time they were at all aware that that was what was going on. I think it was, their own things that they needed to work through. But if I, did something wrong or not to the same standard as my parental figures would expect, I would basically get guilt tripped and ignored, like no verbal or emotional contact for an extended period of time.
Silent treatment.
Yeah, a lot of silent treatment.
How long? Not that it's okay for any period.
No, at least 24 to 48 hours. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's not just like, okay, I need a few minutes. It's like a pattern. And I remember observing this in relationships of adult figures in my life, even between themselves, of like, these adult figures, their own relationship. If there was a disagreement, there would be silence and there would be just like tension in the room for like days on end. And so you learn not to upset these people because you will be removed from love. And I was processing this actually in therapy yesterday, and it like all dawned on me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, no wonder that I started to become a perfectionist, because if I was perfect and if I did everything that these, parental figures and respected adult individuals in my life wanted from me, then I would get to keep connection. I would get to keep love. But as soon as I fell out of line and the standard was high.
Yeah. What were the standards? What are some of the things that you would get the silent treatment for?
I'm trying to like remember concrete examples, and that one's a little tougher for me because a lot of my childhood is a little hard for me to remember.
Yeah.
I remember the feelings. That's the thing. I remember when I did something. And this, again, like, even, my family will say the worst things that I ever did was like as a 6 or 7-year-old, like carve my name into the side of a desk or something and say, I didn't do it. Like, lying or something, but like white lie, like child white lie. Like it's pretty obvious that Katie did it. Her name's in the side of the desk.
Yeah.
But there were situations like that where, I disappointed someone or I didn't uphold a certain standard. And those were the words exactly of, I'm disappointed in you. And then no contact, nothing for extended periods.
Did you ever talk about it?
No.
It was just, I'm disappointed in you. So there wasn't any ability to process through it with someone or learn about it. Because if it was a mistake that you made that didn't align with your values, but you kind of didn't know how to deal with that situation, let's say you hit your brother or something because you were angry, then you still didn't get that opportunity to be like, well, what do I do when I'm that angry? Because it's not like you're this violent person who wants to do that. There's a, capacity and skills issue there. And it's the parent's job to help with that.
Yeah. And I can remember like,
and I'm not
mild
them because
no, for
they
sure,
obviously
for sure.
didn't get their needs met by their parents, or like,
yeah. And, even I was thinking about this yesterday in therapy too. And there was a lot going on for them in their personal lives that I only can understand as an adult. And I still don't understand it because there was a lot of information I was not aware of. And I only just kind of have glimpses of pieces. There would be some framing, like moral framing, like, hey, it's not okay to lie.
Yeah.
But it was a rule.
Yeah.
It was a rule, not, what's the word?
It was an expectation, not a roadmap to meet that expectation.
Exactly. And it wasn't just that there was no lesson behind it, because the lesson on the surface level was, oh, okay, don't do that because that will cause you to be removed from connection, or, because I said so, or that's just not right, or, And even I remember, this is a little bit tangential, but this also kind of describes my difficulty to understand purpose behind some rules. Is like, I was talking with an ex-partner at one point, and I was dating this person at the time, and I was struggling to understand, like, because I'm not religious per se anymore.
Yeah.
And I was struggling to understand, how would I communicate to a child the difference between right and wrong and good and bad without a context for religion? Because that's how I learned it, was religion. And there being a higher power that if I am bad, I'll be judged for. And if I'm good, okay, well, you're not going to burn in a fiery hell. So there was a long period of time where it was just like, okay, well, I'm doing everything either to get connection with, family,
Yeah.
or because I don't want to burn in hell.
Yeah. No, totally. Totally. Yeah. And that's why it's a survival strategy. It's a protective mechanism. And it's so ingrained that until, I mean, if you realize it, but once you realize it, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was fueling my behavior all this time. And I remember another thing that you said in the voice note was about how with this person, when you were so helpful to them and really contributing to their life, that and really over functioning, that once you stopped doing that, they then didn't treat you with respect. They didn't treat you with basic human decency.
Yeah.
And so that would teach. I mean, the silent treatment is, also not great, not respectful. And so this is how the things that we learned in childhood that we don't even realize that we learned then translate into people that we end up having connections with and staying in relationships with, because it's just more of the same. It's how we've said
It feels comfortable.
when there's red flags, when you grew up with red flags and another red flag is there, you're like, that's normal. Red flags are normal, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, well, of course, this person is not treating me with basic respect anymore. I don't deserve respect because I'm not. Yeah. But I'm so glad that you had that little feeling inside when you wanted to go to this place that was like, no, something's off here. I should really investigate this.
Exactly. What kind of cued me in was that I felt like I had to be, in avoiding going to this place because I knew this person that didn't want to see me was there. I felt like in order to earn back the respect that I deserve, and in order to earn back the love that I deserve, I had to perform.
Yeah.
To their standards and to their comforts and to their life, even though I don't maintain a relationship with this person anymore. But because the relationship was transactional, and the second that I stopped over functioning to help this person and meet this person's needs and identified that, hey, I can't do that. And they withdrew and communicated that, oh yeah, I didn't feel the need or desire to communicate with you anymore. Then it was like, oh, okay, well, like, that's not okay. And that wasn't a good treatment of me. And like, I would never treat another person like that. So something must be wrong with me and I must be doing something wrong for you to treat me like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so if I don't maintain the moral high ground for literally every action and do it perfectly right, meaning the interactions to follow, that they're justified for treating me like this.
Right. Yeah. And we'll get into what it's really about, because spoiler alert, it's not that you have to earn respect or love.
Thanks for that.
But so many of us have this subconscious belief of like, if I'm perfect or I perform to their standards, people will love me, people will treat me with respect. I can protect myself from rejection.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it really is protective. So in my own life, experiences that I've had where I felt like I needed to be perfect and people please. And of course, it's growing up in my family, but not growing up as an adult too, right? And the reason that I don't have a relationship with them is because I won't perform to those standards. And there's a consequence to that, like a behavior from them that I won't tolerate. So that's why we don't have a relationship. But one of the things that I learned was that when I would bring something up to one specific person in my family and the goal was always, I want to talk about this, and like this thing that you're saying or doing is hurting me or whatever, and I want to work through it and get to the other side. Like a healthy relationship where you have a conversation and you get on the same page and that person stops doing that, or you decide on, but that was never the outcome for me. I would bring this stuff up and then it would be like, well, you're not perfect either. You do X, Y, Z. And I was always like, but I'm not asking you to be perfect. And if you have issues with me, we can talk about those too. But then a lot of the issues that they were having with me weren't fair or reasonable. It was really controlling,
Yeah.
And the issues they had with me were like me having agency over my life and making, decisions and not being codependent. So people pleasing and perfectionism and performing to their standards became this way that I thought, well, if there isn't anything that they can point to, maybe they'll finally hear me because there isn't something that they can use to distract or avoid. And I mean, that ended up not being true because I then learned that the conversations weren't really based in reality,
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons that I did that, pleasing and the perfectionism. But the other piece was that I was gaslit. I would doubt myself and I was like, well, if I am perfect and I know that I didn't do anything and I truly didn't, and I've thought this through, I've talked to friends, I've talked to my therapist, I'm so careful about my words, I'm so careful about my tone. And then I know you absolutely didn't do anything. So it was like a way of trying to keep myself sane and trying to keep myself from getting it twisted and having my reality warped and being gaslit. Was like, if I know that I'm perfect, then I know that I can't be an excuse of, oh, I acted like that because of what you said or what you did or whatever. So again, I mean, those are just additional survival strategies. I mean, it's the same behavior that we're talking about, but it's for different reasons. And it took me a while to unlearn that. And I think one of the things that I realized just from having clients who also experience this is you don't even have to grow up in a family that teaches you these things. Like as women, we're rewarded for caretaking. And capitalism, we are taught, and all of this is like implicit teaching, right? Like no one outright says this, but we need to be productive. Productivity and profit is most important. And I was meeting with a client the other day where she wants to be a high performer. She wants to be good at her job. And she's trying so hard to keep herself from burning out because she's burned out before in this job and actually took several years off doing a different job and then came back after doing some work on herself and was like, I think I can prevent myself from being burnt out. But she's already getting sucked in after 3 or 4 months because now she's back integrated into the company. She owns things. She's responsible for things. And so she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be a good performer and be good at my job and like meet all these expectations and not get burnt out. And I'm like, okay, well, those things might be mutually exclusive because capitalism teaches us to be a good machine, to be productive. It doesn't teach us take care of your human needs. Mm-hmm. One of the things that a client said to me years ago was, and I think I've said this before on the podcast, but it's always stuck with me. After we had done all this work together, she said, so you're saying that society doesn't conform to the way a brain actually works? I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like there's all these expectations on us that don't actually fit being a human being, So even if it wasn't family that taught us that love and respect must be earned, capitalism teaches us, yeah, you have to earn your value. You're not a good performer if you don't sacrifice, really. Like,
Yeah.
and as a woman, your value is in caretaking. So for now, just know that these things are really ingrained in us. It's kind of like, we're surrounded by air, so we breathe air, just like we're steeped in this culture. So we have to consistently be challenging ourselves and asking ourselves, what is this really about? This doesn't feel right, just like you did.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was thinking about. So I was thinking about how I've had a friendship with this person kind of on and off. I don't want to say on and off. I mean, I guess we were always friends, but I met them. We really clicked. I really wanted to be friends because they're awesome and it seemed great. We were hanging out a bunch, but then they kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And so I was like, oh, maybe they just didn't want to be friends, but didn't want to tell me. So I was just like, whatever. And then one day, like a year later, they reached out and they're like, hey, like, let's get together. And I was like, oh, cool. I want to be friends with you. I'm glad you want to be friends too. I didn't realize that because we had just stopped talking. So I just figured maybe it was, yeah. And she was like, oh, sorry. I do tend to do that with people. Like, I'm not really good at like nurturing friendships and like staying connected and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, well, it's worth it to me to try to like put a little more effort in. But I still didn't see her very often. And I just kind of accepted, okay, like that's kind of how this friendship is. And that's fine. I'll see them rarely. But then we ended up in just like a really interesting dynamic situation. And at first it was going really well and I loved it. But then after a while, I could tell that she was like bothered by me and like even now like she definitely doesn't want to be friends anymore, and I have a sense of why, and I think our values are just different, so I'm okay with why, like I'm not going to change my behavior because they're aligned with my values, but I think they're different than her values. But one of the things that I was thinking about, because I think about her often, like I like her a lot. And I'm like, oh, it would be great if we could be friends, but we can't because, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my old self would want to reach out and be like, hey, can we like make things good? And it's like, Allie, you have learned multiple times that this is a friendship that this person is not going to nurture, even when they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So like now with this kind of weird tension that exists, it really truly doesn't make sense for you to put all this effort in. And if you stayed friends with them, it just wouldn't be good. So then I think it was on TikTok. I saw a TikTok that was like, this is an analogy for when you show up as your true self with someone in a relationship and they don't like it. And they are like, see you negatively and, and I love this analogy. So this is how I think about this situation. It's showing up as who you are is like giving someone a meal, right? Like here's this like delicious meal. It's great. Da, da, da. If they can't digest it, they can't process it. If they can't like digest or process who you are because of maybe it doesn't align with their values or like they haven't done the work to like deal with normal frustrations that come up in relationships, and instead they fart in your face, that's on them, not on you. It's about them not being able to process it. And the best way to deal with that is by disgust, right? If someone farted, you'd be like, ew. So instead of being like, oh, I'm so sad that person doesn't like me and they look down on me and I feel self-conscious and bad about myself, it's like, ew. Like people who can't process stuff, like people who can't digest stuff. And I don't actually mean, just to be clear, like, so that is helpful to be like, ew, like that's a negative thing about them, because I think it helps you accurately take in, like, that's a negative. We need to get the ick from that, Yeah. And that's healthy. It doesn't mean that you
go up to them and do it to their face.
Yeah, or think it's bad or whatever. But I just thought that was so great that it's like when you do show up as yourself and you're like, I'm not going to perform to your standards. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to people please. And people don't like it. it's because they can't digest you, right? Like it's because they can't process what's coming up. And so this is my very weird segue into, it's not about you not being worthy of respect or like not having value or not being lovable. It's about their limitations.
Yes. So interesting that you bring that up, because as you were talking about that analogy, what was running through my head is this person that I had this not encounter with. I observed them. They did not observe me. And then I had my emotional spiral. I have had a lot of anger towards this person over the past, I don't know, period of time. And I'm like, yeah, they disrespected me. That has to be why I'm angry. But the anger wouldn't go away. And in the sense that like it wouldn't quiet. And for me, it's like once I understand what the root of the anger is or the root of the emotion, I usually can be like, okay, this is how, that is okay or not okay, or how I adjust my behavior or not adjust my behavior and what that means. And like it quells. I haven't been able to get the anger to quell until I processed through this and realized, oh shit, what this means for me in my subconscious is that their behavior towards me was confirmation in my limiting belief that I'm unlovable. And once I identified that and I was like, oh, well, first off, that's not right. And I went back and I like addressed the logic. Like the emotion was no longer, I'm pissed off because they keep trying to tell me I'm unlovable.
Yeah.
Through their action. It was, oh, well, they're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also like, that's not true.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, reality is setting in. Like what is actually true versus what is not true. Whereas before I'm just looking at the situation. I'm like, I don't fucking understand. I don't understand why they're behaving this way. And I don't understand why I'm pissed off about it if I'm not maintaining connection with them and why I want to change my behavior when it does not benefit me to change my behavior. And then when I understood the root, I was like, oh, and I could see the situation through a clearer lens.
How
and
are you feeling now?
So what was interesting, this might seem weird. I don't know. Maybe other people do this. Maybe other people don't. I'm an overthinker. Hi, nice to meet you. So I'm the person that will also like think through how would I communicate the situation to someone else, be it you, someone super close to me, my therapist, or just a random person off the street who asked a weird question with weird context. And when I was thinking about this situation, I was feeling the need to itemize the entire exchange and like the entire history to provide justification for why the behavior was not okay so that I could prove that I was lovable.
So,
but hold on, that was the first.
Give an example though, because you're okay.
So what I mean is like if someone asked why that relationship fell apart and why we no longer speak, I would feel the need to explain,
to justify with examples. Okay.
Yes, and to be like, okay, well, this is actually everything I did and why their behavior is not in alignment with how I treated them. I treated them well.
Got it. Okay.
And it doesn't make sense to me why they're being this way towards me.
Okay.
And so it doesn't also reflect on me that I'm unlovable.
Right.
Is the subconscious belief, right? Once I got to the root and realized the subconscious belief, and then I was able to separate the two and be like, oh, okay. So whatever they're doing, that's them being dumb. But I can address the subconscious belief on my end.
Yes.
And I can recognize that that's not true, and I can process through that. Once I did, the way that I would then be in a situation where someone asked me, oh, why did you guys stop talking?
Yeah.
It became a very simple compatibility issues.
Love it. Yes.
Which is wild to me because like I literally had a juxtaposition of that. It was an hour of explaining versus 30 seconds of compatibility issues.
An hour of explaining and having to like pull all that information, that itemized list of examples from your brain and figure out how do I justify and explain this in a way that this person that I'm talking to will understand. You're getting confused in your mind because
it's also confusing.
It's so, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. I can totally relate to that. And there's so much anxiety when you're explaining it too, because you're like, I have to prove that I'm not a bad person.
Yeah.
Really, it's like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love this for you. And I love that the selfies are hearing this example, because this is in real time, the shift from what I think of me matters more than what they think of me.
Yes.
But
So loud.
to get to what you think of you mattering, it's like you had to make the shift of what you think of you. Before, you thought that you had to earn this, and now you realize you don't. So now it's like, yeah, it was compatibility, and I just know that for myself, and I don't have to over-explain.
Yeah, it was just it literally is the thought process of, if I was just looking at the surface level behaviors and not trying to decipher more of what do these surface level behaviors mean about what I believe. Why do these surface level behaviors frustrate me? Because what had happened in that moment is I experienced a ton of anxiety, and I wanted to walk away from something that brought me joy.
Can you what surface level behavior, yours or theirs?
Surface level behavior
That frustrated?
that I was frustrated that they were disrespecting me.
Oh, in the past. Okay.
Yes. I was pissed off that they were disrespecting me, and that they basically put all of the house stuff on me, and that they would not communicate. And then even I don't feel the need or desire to communicate with you about something that impacts you, about something that I said that I would do, but I'm not going to do. And then all the shit with, oh yeah, but I'm willing to look like the good guy to help people that don't have
Instead of doing
obligation.
what I need to do.
Yes. And then like unfollow me and unfriending me. And like, I know that this person said negative and untrue things about me to our mutual connections. Like, they told me, like, there is that obvious, like, just the awkward tension. Like, all of that, I'm pissed off that those things occurred. But if I left it at, it's just because they disrespected me, that doesn't feel true. It's true on a surface level. It's not true as the core belief. And so when I was walking by this place, when I got to this, and I'm walking by and I'm feeling all this anxiety and all this stress bubble up because I saw this person.
Right.
And I said immediately, oh, I can't go here now.
Right.
I have to change my plans because it will put them in a place that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they clearly can't respect me, and that's not okay. That was just a level, but people have disrespected me before, and I haven't received anxiety from it. I haven't felt, oh, this hits deeper. And I want to repair something that I know is not repairable. And by repair, I mean I want basically acknowledgement on their part.
Validation of the valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm like, okay, well, you shouldn't, this is something I would say, and did say, you wouldn't treat someone like this that you love.
Yeah.
And you claim to have love and respect, and,
Right.
treating me like a human is important.
Right.
And that's a core value. And you treat people well, but you can't treat me with human decency.
Right. Right. Because this person also believes that you earn that, instead of someone who has the type of character where your beliefs are, you deserve basic human respect and basic human decency regardless of how you show up.
Yeah.
Right. So this person has failed you over and over again. You overextended yourself. You burnt yourself out. They said a lot of things, promised a lot of things, didn't follow through, and then treated you really disrespectfully. And you are not interacting with, would not, like, if you did see this person, you would not treat them with disrespect, because your character is that I can be respectful to people, even if I don't have respect for them because of the way they treated me. But my value is still to act with respect and be respectful. And they're a human, and people make mistakes. And this person is on their own journey in life. this person is limited and this person would struggle in a relationship, in my opinion. I think that they have a lot of work to do in order to be in a healthy relationship. And so you can see all that and still treat them with respect. And this person didn't do that for you because they must have a belief, and it's probably subconscious because it doesn't align with their conscious stated values. They have this subconscious belief that, well, it's okay for them. They're justified in treating you disrespectfully because what? Because
they're hurt.
Because they're hurt. The relationship ended and they need to make you into this bad person, really. Or, yeah, I mean, if they're talking about you and they have their own little mini smear campaign, sharing with people that you also interact with, then yeah, they need to see you as negative, in a negative light, in order to deal with their sadness of not being in the relationship. But the truth is that you wanted to be in the relationship. You wanted it to work. You worked really hard to make it work, and it couldn't continue. And that was out of your control. And it was very difficult and sad for you to have to accept that reality, but you had to choose yourself.
Yeah.
And so if someone is going to treat you disrespectfully because you're centering yourself, then that obviously is not compatible and not in alignment with you. But it also says a lot about their limitations, because that means that they can't be in a relationship with someone who is self-centered.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of you. I think this is amazing that you've made this shift and that you see things so much more clearly, because in your own mind, you're not even going to have to go through and itemize things out as much anymore. Because you're like, I don't have to even justify to myself. I'm unconditionally good, unconditionally deserve respect.
Yeah. The only thing that it brought up for me that is, I don't want to say unresolved, but it's something that I have to be in process for, is it identified to me that a large portion of my relationships did feel conditional. And do start and potentially end with my performance and me being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And me putting my needs aside to make other people comfortable or to meet other people's needs. So it's caused me to kind of take a different look at relationships in my life. And in some way it's good that I'm now putting a lens that I can filter things through. Oh, okay, well, would this person still want to be in a friendship, a relationship, anything with me if I didn't conform to them and their standards and ideals? And I think that part was just hard to sit with. It was like, ooh, the list is smaller now of who I'm like actually, loves. And that's something that I've, said in therapy for the last, year, is I feel like it's damn near impossible for me to find someone who loves like I do. And I don't say that as a pompous statement. I say that I do truly try to love people unconditionally. There's conditions to my energy.
There's conditions for relationships, but not necessarily conditions for you loving a person.
Right. And I will say the line for that has been blurred often. I would justify having a relationship, and relationship, there's many contexts to that. That's not necessarily a romantic relationship, but I would justify having a relationship with a person because I'm like, oh, well, there's still things about them worthy to be loved. So I can still be willing to give my time, energy, and effort to them, even if it's not in alignment with the type of person or the type of person that I want to be or that I want to be around. Even if we were not compatible, that was a limiting belief that I had because I pushed the love thing too much. And now I'm like, oh, okay, well, but if they only like you because you conform to them, that's not really
right.
That's not real.
Yeah.
And let it go.
Subconscious messages in those relationships that'll reinforce those beliefs within us. So it's I don't know. I think a lot of the times we think oh, I can just hang out like with this person that I was talking about where I'm like, well, I really like them. Like I truly do. We had so much fun together when they felt good about me and I miss them. And I kept hearing my old self, you know, that's still in there saying things like, well, you could just keep it surface level. You could just hang out and, you know, whatever. And it's like, yeah, but that person and I think this person is the type of person who can like not silent treatment, but kind of like, well, you just don't talk about things. You just like avoid it. You feel how you feel. You don't want to be around that person, but then it stops frustrating you because you get over it and then you can hang out with that person again. So like I could totally see that happening, but I should still not be even in a surface level friendship with that person because they were frustrated with things about me that I'm fine with. And in my opinion, aren't wrong with me. So it's not a good idea for me to get those messages, whether explicit, they're not even explicit, they're implicit through behavior and through tone and just, you know, feeling around them where it's like, something's like wrong with you or I don't like this thing about you. So it's like, no, I'm not going to expose myself to that.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing I think of is like, you're expensive. And let me clarify this. You're expensive in the sense that like you are valuable and your time is valuable.
Yeah.
And to start handing out your dollar billies in terms of your time and your energy into something that it's not going to actually pan out. Like the investment's not going to pan out and it's not, you guys aren't even exchanging the same currency. Like it just,
Yeah. And it's like, it makes so much more sense for me to use that energy to invest in myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Or relationships that do have aligned values.
Right.
And the same for them.
What I'm saying is like, right now I'm in a season where I'm wanting to make more friends. So there is space for friends. And so if I'm not hanging out with someone, there might not be someone else to hang out with at that time. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is I would just invest in myself. I wouldn't be like, oh, well, let me put energy into hanging out with this person.
Yeah.
I would just create something or chill or cook or hang with Bug or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I learned. So I was in a relationship from 14 years old to 23 years old. And when I got out of that relationship, obviously I was in my early 20s. And because I started dating this guy when I was 14, like obviously I hadn't like really dated as an adult. And so I started going on dates with guys. And I remember being like so scared that like, oh no, I'm going to hurt them because I'm not going to be interested, you know? Because with dating, I mean, for the most part, you're not interested until you hopefully find the one you are interested in. And I was doing online dating. So it was one of those things where it's like, you're going on lots of dates, whereas now I'm not doing online dating. But there's a cute guy at pickleball. Anyway, that's all other.
What? Tell me more.
I don't know if I should be doing that. Well, I'll tell you more off the pod, but let's just see how it goes. But anyway, so what was I saying? Oh gosh, I got distracted. So
I wish we had an instant replay.
So when I first started dating, I remember being like, oh no, like I'm going to hurt them. And it's funny because there are people in my life who I've wanted to be friends with and be closer with who clearly didn't want to be friends with or closer to me. And I have just been, bummed, but more like, okay, I don't know, focus on something else or like whatever. They're the people in my life who have wanted to be friends with me and closer than I wanted to be. I've always felt awful not wanting to be as close or not wanting to hang out as much. And then it felt like for a long time, I didn't want to hurt their feelings. And so I would be like, okay, well, I'll hang out with them because I feel bad. But then, that became not good because then they just want to keep hanging out more and more because they want to get closer. But this is all coming back to you saying I'm expensive. So I had to get to this place where I was like, wait, just like the people who I wanted to be closer with, who don't want to be close to me or friends with me and that's okay. And like, I'm okay. Like, it doesn't mean anything negative about me or my worth. That's the same thing for the people that I don't want to be closer to. It's just not a fit. And like, that's okay. And like, if they freak out about it, that's not about me. That's about their own beliefs and core beliefs about themselves and their feelings about themselves, maybe insecurities. And yeah, do I feel sad that their insecurities are being triggered? Yeah, but like this is a normal part of life. Just like going on dates with people and being like, hey, I don't feel like it's a good fit for me, but I wish you the best. That's a normal part of life. If you go on dates and you expect that everyone's going to like you, like, and then it's gonna crush you when they don't, like, that's something that's pointing to an insecurity and a belief inside of you. And if any of the selfies want us to talk about that more, we definitely can, because I'm sure that happens for a lot of you. But that's not, that's, if you have that insecurity, that's your responsibility to figure out. It's not other people's responsibility to like coddle you and like pretend to be your friend or pretend to like want to go on another date with you, And I remember it was actually in San Diego when I dated that one guy who I don't even want to say I broke up with him, because we were just going on dates. We weren't official or anything. But about a month in, I said, this is not, this isn't a good fit for me. And he was rude. He was mean to me.
remember that.
And he literally, like, I've actually never had a guy I've had guys initially after the first date, or even if you're just talking on, like, chatting online before potentially getting together for a date, and you say, oh, I'm not interested. And then they're like, well, you're ugly anyway. Like, guys, that's normal, unfortunately. But
Common, not normal, common.
Yes, common. Good point. So this guy, though, that I had been on multiple dates with for a month, I never had that happen to me where a guy was disrespectful to me like that, like after I'd gone on multiple dates with them, because I just didn't see that coming. And I remember saying, because this was on the phone when I ended things with him, and I remember after he said all this, I said, it's not okay to talk to me like that. And it's not okay to talk to anyone like that. I hope you don't talk to anyone like that. And he said, well, what do you expect? You just hurt me.
That's
and
not
I
how
said,
this works.
Yeah. And I literally said, I don't remember verbatim what I said, but it was something like, just because you feel sad or you feel pain and someone else triggered that within you does not mean that it's, number one, they did anything wrong. And number two, that they deserve to be treated with disrespect and to be mean to them. And he's like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. Which, I mean, like, I guess points for you, but like, this just goes back to how we do not teach men. Like, oh my God, there's so many TikToks that are like men on these fucking podcasts that are having these so-called deep philosophical realizations that we understood and were writing in our journals in kindergarten,
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm a little past that. Like, I got a doctorate in this shit, and you are learning the ABCs,
Yep. Which is why women are choosing to be single.
Which is why women are choosing to be single. Yeah. So it's like,
and dogs provide more happiness than partners.
Yes, actually, what was the thing that we saw about
The 90,000 thing, that dogs, having a dog is equivalent to
the quality of life associated with making $90,000 a year.
making additional 90, like having a partner who makes $90,000 to contribute to your well-being.
Oh, I mean, I believe it.
That's
I love this
wild.
girl. Yeah.
That's fucking wild. The equivalent of having a second income.
And it makes sense. And also, it's like, this is a quote unquote one-sided relationship. This bitch don't pay my bills.
No, it is an expense.
So expensive, but
it only
so
takes
worth it. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
However, I am still trying to monetize the dogs.
That's true. Do you want to drop the what are they called? Handles?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. 2 floofs and a mom on TikTok.
TWOFLOOFS and a mom.
I think so. It might have periods in it. Hold on.
No, I don't think it has periods, but you could double check. I have a pretty
Oh,
good
it does.
memory. Oh, it does?
At
Crap.
twoofs.floofs.and.a.mom. Two floofs and a mom.
Two
It's my
flips
husky and my Malinois and all of our craziness.
And that's on Insta and TikTok or just TikTok?
That's on just TikTok.
Okay. Anyway, coming back. So yes, I'm expensive. We should all be expensive. And it's like, if someone doesn't get to spend time with you and they're like sad about that, it instead of being like, oh my God, I feel so bad for them and they're so hurt. It's like, okay, that's where they are in their journey. That's where they are in their journey, that they are, dealing with some insecurity, that this is triggering. And I wish them the best in figuring that out. And yeah, like, I'm valuable. Yeah, I did want to share a few other ways that this can show up for the selfies. So in relationships, you become afraid to show emotion or to mess up because then people will say, you're the problem. And they won't look at themselves or take responsibility. What about you? Right. And when you are walking on eggshells, trying to be perfect, or trying to perform to someone's standards, that leads to self-abandonment. Right. And like Katie was saying, it also leads to over-explaining because then we internalize that we have to prove that we're good or prove our worth. And then we shrink ourselves and we shrink our lives to manage other people's comfort. So we don't actually want to be the bigger person and we don't want to take the high road. We just want to be self-centered and be human.
Yeah.
You do not need to be great. You do not need to be perfect. You can be human. You can be imperfect and make mistakes, and you deserve respect always. So here's some pod practice. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself if any of this resonated with you and you want to start to go deeper. When did I first learn that love or respect had to be earned through performance? How do I shrink or contort myself to avoid being mistreated? What does that look like? If I saw a video of you shrinking yourself, what would you be doing? Like literally describe your behavior so that it's clear to you.
And one way I might frame that as well is when I think of shrinking myself, I think of walking away from something that I want, something that would bring me joy.
Got it. Saying I can't have that.
Yeah, I can't have that, or I have to let that go, or I just have to give this thing up.
And that's a good example of not only shrinking yourself, but shrinking your life. You're like, I won't get to have this thing in my life. I have to forego that because I don't want to be mistreated.
Yeah.
Or I need them to like me because if they don't like me, then it means I deserve disrespect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even, this is a boundaries conversation in general and like making sure that you own what's important to you. But I remember even in a relationship saying like when we weren't compatible on values on something like on owning property and whatnot, me saying outright to myself, oh, well, I just can't own property with that person. I have to forever be the one to manage it when my value would be that we do things jointly. And like that was an example of me shrinking myself to make the relationship continue.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that moment, you're thinking, well, I'm choosing myself still. I'm centering myself because I'm not letting go of wanting to own property. And I'm holding on to. So I guess I would say, because it's not you center yourself or not, right? You were centering yourself in some ways to some extent because of that, because you wanted to own property. So that continued to be a goal of yours. And because you wanted financial security and stability and to not be worried, potentially, I'm just guessing, about how someone might manage the finances or make choices with the property, whatever. And so you're like, well, I'm not going to take that risk then, which is aligned with my values. But the piece where you could be more centered is saying, and I would really love to do that with someone else.
Yeah. And I think so in the moment, I may not have had the insight or the clarity to say like, oh no, but I actually would really love that. But what I did know was how my guttural feeling was towards it. Yeah. And it was begrudging. It came with a really heavy sigh.
It makes me think of red light, green light. The body doesn't lie, and that's the red light. That's why I think, tuning in, doing red light, green light, even every day, just like, oh, this feels really good. Okay, that's green light. What are the physical sensations I'm noticing in my body? Oh, this doesn't feel good. What are the sensations in my body? It just keeps you connected to what your signs are that something is for you or not.
Yeah, because I will be so easily drawn into the logic of it and try to like go down the rabbit hole of, oh, well, I could make it happen this way and that way, and there's all these options and yada yada, but that doesn't connect to the feeling at all.
Totally. All right. So next question, what would I do differently? How would I be behaving? What choices would I be making if I believed I was worthy of love and respect unconditionally, even when I'm misunderstood, even when I'm not perfect, even when I'm not performing and I'm being my full true self? So it's kind of the opposite of the last question. Like, how big would your life be? How big would you be? How would that look? And then, who treats me with love even when I'm not impressive or helpful or performing? Who validates the valid? Who hears what I'm saying and doesn't distract or avoid by putting it on me? Who treats me with respect no matter what? Even when I have blurted something out angrily because I was in a heated moment, and later I come back and say sorry, but that didn't lead them to escalate and up the ante and say, oh, good, now I can be mean to them and unleash on them, right? That this person is, or hopefully these people, are always trying to be respectful. And when they're not, it's an anomaly. It's an exception to the rule, right? So like this isn't about being perfect for anyone, right?
Yeah.
This is about patterns. This is about the goal of being respectful no matter what. And that when you accidentally aren't, then you try to get back on track. And then replace, how do I explain myself so they treat me better? How do I justify myself with, how do I stay aligned with myself no matter how they respond or what they think of me?
Yeah.
And even just like, you could even do 2 columns. The first one is explaining myself so they treat me better, which is kind of like the old way. And then the stretch goal that you have of staying aligned with yourself because you know you're unconditionally lovable and worthy of respect. And here are all the ways that I would be behaving and acting and what I would be saying and doing if I stayed aligned with myself, knowing that if they respond in a disrespectful way, it's about their limitations and not about me. Yep. Okay.
Great.
You're worthy. Full stop. That's it. Let
Love
us
it.
know if you have any questions. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Follow us on Instagram at selfcentered.pod or connect with us at selfcenteredthepod@gmail.com.
Stay self-centered, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.